I'm just gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, there it is.
Cool.
Boom.
Awesome.
Right. Every time I do this, I'm like, I need to get like an actual intro, and I will sooner or later. I will, but I've said that literally like for years now. But
That could be your intro.
yeah. It's been a few months at least since I've done a promo stream. So you're the first one to get back on the horse with that. So thanks
sweet.
for doing this with me. Yeah, it's always fun to like talk to new creators. And you've been around. I've seen. I don't know if it's like the past 6 months or something. I started seeing your account, and your account was very like positive and very cool. And then the book looks like legitimately awesome. So I backed it. So I do want to talk to you about that. But we were talking a little bit behind the scenes. First off, I call you Dio. And then,
perfect.
Yeah. So and you're the artist and writer of the Tomb of Reckoning.
Yes.
Tome of Reckoning.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, which is awesome. And it's on its second issue, is now being crowdfunded.
It is. Yep, second issue, and I think there's 5 days left. I think, or 6.
Cool. Yeah, and it there's a campaign on Indiegogo and on Kickstarter. Which is it? Kickstarter is the one that's going right now, or is it Indiegogo?
That's both are going right now. I think Kickstarter has. I think for some reason I screwed up when I put it live, but I think it has 3 days left. But it just got funded today as well from Jolly Green from Twitter. So super stoked about that. So that's funded at $506, which is all I could ask for, man. It's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, Jolly Green's great too. He's becoming like, there's a couple accounts that really are central hubs for indie promotion and stuff, and they'll get a lot of followers, a lot of retweets, and he's kind of doing that, helping everyone out. He's kind of in DMs cheering people on too and stuff. So yeah, he's great.
He really is. And dude, he helped me out immensely. Like I wasn't going to email anybody from old lists that I had. And he's like, dude, you have those lists for a reason. You're building up an email list, email people. Took him up on it. And as soon as I did, I had like 4 or 5 more backers that day. So he's been tantamount to actually getting this stuff rolling. So big props to Jolly Green out there, man. I appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, that's cool. And by the way, in the chat, we got Caleb Reynolds. How's it going, Caleb? Thanks for joining us. I'm sure we'll have more people filtering in as we go. And I'll say hi to them as they come in, and we'll let them know kind of what we're doing.
Awesome.
It says 4 right now. If you're in the chat, say hi and prove you're not a bot. Say like not a bot, but say one word, like no spaces. And if you do that, then I know you're human. So what we were talking about, we'll get to this in just a second. This looks awesome, but it's that there's a lot of like, I don't know, the all the potential and energy of the comic scene in general. Most of it's coming kind of from the indie scene. It's a little bit of a change. Whereas I don't know how long it takes for like the reputations to switch, but for the longest time, the clout comes with the mainstream getting published or whatever and blah, blah, blah. But that's kind of been almost like completely ruined. And now it's like more and more pros are going just to crowdfunding. And then you can legitimately find books that are better than average or even more than that than compared to the mainstream. It's not even that hard. You can like just peruse.
Right.
I think Tomb of Reckoning like counts like that. Like people can just look at the art and see like you're definitely like on a professional level releasing this cool indie book.
I appreciate that. You know, it's funny, you know, I've said it before, but when you're doing it yourself and you really don't get it out there, you don't know how people are going to receive it. So to hear these words, man, it means a lot, dude, because I'm sort of tough on myself when it comes to my artwork and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's great.
Thank you.
Yeah. So there was a Mark Miller tweet referencing a Tarantino quote, and Tarantino said like, there's eras of where art can get conservative, but not like political spectrum, more like conservative, like kind of
holding back.
Yeah, like holding back. And then there's eras directly following that. You'll have like kind of a boon of some great like pushing the boundaries type creative stuff. And it feels like we're right on the cusp of that really happening. Like it's kind of happening in the indies before the mainstream. The mainstream has been like legitimately like damping down, kind of with cancel culture's part of it, some political correctness, all that kind of stuff is like really like making that in sorry shape. And we're still seeing that kind of. It's funny too, in Hollywood it's like delayed by like 2 or 3 years,
right?
So like at this point it already feels like it's dead, and like they know it's dead, but they still have like 2 or 3 years of projects coming through that are like this more woke stuff or
It's so
whatever.
it's so funny you say that. Yeah, because it's already been filmed, so you can't shelve it unless it's a tax write-off. But most of those things are not going to get that, so you have to release it anyway. But like you said, it's 2 years behind, so they're releasing stuff that's actually almost like it's like looking at a dead star. You know what I mean? You're seeing this light that's
Yeah, yeah,
already been shown. So it's sort of funny to see this coming out. But I'm with you, and also speaking with you think of the '70s, boom of movie making where all the stuff was grimy. You know what I mean? Taxi Driver and stuff that was all influenced from the street, which is essentially the indies would be the street, so to speak. So it's like, the mainstream might catch up with it, but it's guys like you and other people out there who are putting this stuff out that's really going to influence, what's going on in the mainstream later on. So I'm stoked for that. And hopefully, I knock on wood that it really makes that turnaround because it's so stagnant, man. Everything that's coming out of the mainstream right now is just it's like breaking the fourth wall, look at the camera, winking and saying saying all the catchphrases that just take you out of storytelling. So I really can't wait to see people taking creative chances like yourself and finally, getting the respect that you guys deserve, man. So
thanks. Yeah, and in some ways, it's like a back to basics thing
mhm,
is almost all we need, and in other ways, yeah, we could be more like yeah, creative and weird or whatever. But
mhm.
just like what's the word that people use a lot that's pretty good is like if you're just being like sincere. Like there's
Yeah,
not that much of that in the mainstream right now.
very true. Yeah.
And it's been like that for yeah, like years. So everyone's kind of waiting for it to really happen. Oh, and then the other thing that happened today is Gina Carano is suing Disney. That feels like another like there's all these like sea change events that feel like
Yes.
it's happening. And yeah, like there's some interesting things of like just remembering how the indie kind of thing happened is like there was an era where it in hindsight now it does feel like a gold rush a little bit. It
Mhm,
was like people coming in six-figure campaigns out of
mhm,
nowhere, more than that, multiples and higher. And so some of the claims to fame is like I think Malin did like a second chance cover with a new cover on
mhm,
like Graveyard Shift, like maybe volume 2 or 1. It was kind of in that era.
mhm.
And it did like 200,000 or something. So
Right.
like just like so kind of cool that the business is there and then that kind of trickles down and the whole thing can kind of explode.
Mhm.
And I think that'll happen again. I think it's because it's kind of waned a little bit.
Right.
And part of that's the economy. Part of it's like the indie scene itself kind of shaking of the box or whatever, and some
Mhm.
infighting and stuff. But all that will settle, and I think everyone's gonna. It'll be again because the old motto used to be "A rising sea raises all ships." I truly
Right.
believe that. So like,
Mhm.
we'll see how it all happens, and like that even does even apply to the mainstream. Like we actually want the mainstream to get healed,
Right.
uh, and that will help the indie scene a lot. Yeah, and there's a lot of companies even like it kind of feels like they're less subscribed to like what if like any affiliation with Comicsgate in the past can get you like blacklisted or whatever.
Mhm.
I kind of feel like that's not a thing or maybe won't be soon if it's
Right.
not even anymore.
Right. And it shouldn't be. I mean, you guys got demonized pretty hard for just speaking what everybody was speaking. It's silly. And everybody's been, every facet of not just Comicsgate, but every facet of anybody who's had a differing opinion has been demonized and the words have lost their meaning. You know what I mean? So hopefully the adults can take back over and differing ideas are welcome, dude. You know what I mean? Like nobody wants just one set of, ideas taking control of any type of medium. You know what I mean? And you let the market speak, and hopefully, that'll happen because how can these companies be hemorrhaging so much money? You know what I mean? And still putting out the same like just tame stuff before somebody finally realizes that a change needs to happen. So I'm with you. I think it is on its way out. I hope it is. I just hope we're not doing what I actually put a tweet out saying I hope we're not in the same boat where it was George Bush saying mission accomplished. You know what I mean? Too soon, where it's like nothing's changed. So I'm hoping to be as optimistic as you guys to see it actually turn around because look, you got into comics and writing comics because you probably had a love for it as a kid from, the things, the Spider-Mans and whatever, you know what I mean? Just the stuff that we all grew up reading. And it'd be nice to see it return to form.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the thing about comics and the indie scene is like the possibility is there to read something that you've never read before or imagined before
Mhm.
that'll take you by surprise. And even I've compared it a little bit to like I don't even game too much, but what do they call it? They call it achievement hunting. Have you ever
Yes,
heard of that?
I
Yeah.
have. Yeah.
I feel like is that, but it's kind of unspoken for like comics because it is like from a certain perspective, comics is a young art form. Even movies, you could even say that
Hmm.
about sort of. And so you can think of like, yeah, there is still stuff that hasn't been done. Like,
Hmm.
but I was like trying to claim some achievements, and people
Hmm.
are like, no, I'm pretty sure it's been done. But I one of them was for the new Grand Prix. It has the biggest banana. It has like a genetically modified banana that's like 15 feet long, and I'm like, dude, the biggest banana. This has never been done in
And
comics before.
it has some.
I
And
don't
they
know. Yeah.
okay.
Well, I don't know if someone was taking the piss or whatever, but they're like, yeah,
Hopefully.
Superman issue from the 70s, blah, blah, blah.
Well, you know what? Just make it a couple more feet bigger, dude. It's almost like the Guinness Book of Records. Even if it's done before, if somebody can do it bigger and better, then it still counts. You know, you still get your name in the
Yeah.
record books.
Yeah. That's what I'm just gonna claim it's the biggest banana or whatever. That's what I think. I might need a B cover, and I'm trying to decide. It's like these funny questions sometimes you got to think about is like marketing wise. I was like, maybe the B cover this time, instead of being something badass, it could be like more of a meme. And
Right.
then I don't know if that's like a good idea or a bad idea, but if it was more of a meme, it could be a giant banana, just the
Well,
giant banana.
speaking from just how you draw, I think you'd make it look badass. So I would go with the meme thing, man. It'd be sort of cool. I'm sure
Yeah.
you'll set it up beautifully, dude. So
Yeah, with Hotel Story, which was the most recent one, I've been working with Jared Jewell,
uh-huh.
and this is like a little mini marketing thing, but he is very familiar with mini comics, which is
Hmm.
like where you take an 8.5 by 11 sheet and you fold it like to a slice in the middle and fan it and then fold it and it becomes an 8-page comic
Right.
without any like staples even. And you just print it on one side. So we did that for Hotel Story, and it was really fun. A little bonus, kind of sort of like a deleted scene ish
Oh, that's awesome.
prequel type thing. And I was like, yo, I'm going to keep doing this because you can just fold that in half and slip it in the book, and it looks like a manifest or whatever. It's like not even a big deal.
That's a great idea,
Um,
dude. And especially saving on shipping, but you're still giving somebody artwork and story, which is what I love.
yeah, it does feel like one of the better possibilities for a bonus that a campaign could include.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to keep doing that. But yeah, it's fun to like when you're doing indies, you do everything. So
Right.
you're like, you even do like the cover dress design, the graphic design, you do everything like that. And
Right.
actually, speaking of that, so you do almost everything and your wife does coloring, correct?
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And actually, I have somebody that does letters as well. So for me,
Okay. What about this logo is kind of cool. Did you do the logo too, or?
I did a rough of the logo, so it pretty much looked like that. And then I sent it to my letterer, who's awesome, dude, and he pulled it out and made it come to life. So yeah, I
Yeah,
drew it traditionally, and then he did it in the computer, and it looks beautiful
nice. That's awesome.
for me. Thank you.
What have you mentioned you might go on with Rini soon, or have you already done that? Or
Apparently, I think I'm going on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken.
oh, which is tomorrow, right?
Oh shit,
Yeah,
it is tomorrow. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm going on John's long box at 7, and I think Reenie's at 9:30, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, cool. That'll be a good like extra boost too, as it campaigns are both in their last week.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I know that one thing with indies that I've noticed, and it was even like this for me way back in the day, is like you do the first one, and no matter how big it is, like
Hmm.
you can print it and fulfill it. Like if it's small, if it's like not even if it's not say 10K, you can print and fulfill like really fast.
Right.
And then those people read it, then you get the word of mouth, you launch again, and you can hopefully build. And we've seen a lot of examples of people hitting 10K
Hmm.
from pretty early in the first couple of campaigns. And then from there, yeah, it's like maybe a little bit of a struggle to even from 10 to 100. I haven't even
Hmm.
done that yet, but it's like it feels like these like baby steps of goals that you can kind of reach realistically just by putting out the product and getting word of mouth is like
Hmm.
all that we can really rely on. Or I mean that, and then like marketing and YouTube and Twitter and stuff.
Right.
But that is it. The 10K, like I think for me, Earthbound, I did a first one right before Comic Skate kind of was a thing, and that
Hmm.
one didn't do so good. I was still like asking my friends and family to kind of back it as a favor and stuff,
Right.
and it kind of eked over like 1,800 or whatever. And I fulfilled that, and I like sort of not ironic, but that was promoted by Captain Cummings, It was the
Okay.
precursor to Zach. Like, so he was the very first YouTuber pretty much to be talking about how Marvel was shit in a brick or whatever.
Really?
And he eventually, he's still kind of around, I think, but he's not like a big YouTuber. He kind of quit doing that, but he tweeted kind of early on. He's like, hey, this guy's like, fighting the same fight too. We should all support him. But it just wasn't like a big movement yet. So that
Mhm.
didn't help that much. And like, it was even like that might get extra eyes on it, but it's not even like the energy of people being like, F yeah, let's do this.
Right.
Like, I'm ready to put my money where my mouth is. Tell me what to back.
Right.
That was almost the situation for a while. And yeah, like so that's like that kind of energy would definitely can be built and like come back. But it was interesting in the early days that you could see examples of it kind of not being there, and then you see where it was. But then the second Earthbound campaign, which is like a full trade, that was like 8,000. So not even crazy numbers yet, but then it
Right.
got good reviews. And then it actually got one. This is another thing that helps everyone if you can ever get it, is like kind of like a review or whatever, from positive review from someone with a big audience,
Right.
which is like Ethan's been doing those reviews. That's honestly like a pretty useful thing for the community. Hopefully it is
Right.
a funny balance. Like, yeah, because I don't know, it's always, that's actually I think why your boy Zach kind of quit reviewing indies, is because it just comes with so much baggage.
Right.
It is kind of a hard thing.
Because you almost don't want to hurt somebody's feelings, I'm guessing sometimes. But
Yeah, or like you could even get accused of like attacking their livelihood or whatever, So
but I mean, and look, I know, when you put it out there, it's out there, and there is people that get vindictive about stuff. And I think you can actually sense that more so, you know, uh, uh, when somebody's just doing something vindictively. But if you're just getting a review that's, maybe not as flattering or as favorable as you'd like, you should probably take those and try to fix whatever you can. At least that's the way I try to operate. You know what I mean? It's like, if I hear something that's, you know, something that helps me out, I'm going to try to, put that into the next issue and try to up my game up. You know what I mean?
yeah, I agree. By the way, we got 8 people watching. Thanks everyone for being here. Paul Sarts, how's it going, man? Kind of a regular of the channel.
Awesome.
But yeah, I was gonna say with what we were saying with reviews. I with Earthbound, even I had a few readers early on who were a little bit harsh, but it was so helpful, and
Right.
so I never forgot about that. Of like that them being like kind of harsh, like, and it utilized a bunch of it was almost like they're like editors, but it was
Mhm.
kind of, I didn't even have those words yet or whatever. But there was a lot of changes that happened because of that, and it definitely benefited from that. So like, and yeah, over the years, it's like editors definitely valuable if anyone has a collaborator that can provide that kind of service, just a second set of eyes kind of thing.
Which is something I'd like to do in the future when I can afford, to get an editor to help me out with some of this stuff right now. I had an editor on the first issue and the second issue, but I'd like somebody a little more hands on in the future. So hopefully that's the next route I can take as well, is get somebody to really, I'm editing a lot of this stuff, a lot of the dialogue and stuff myself, and story beats, and the story's been worked out pretty well. But it's also nice to have a fresh set of eyes that could be like, oh, this doesn't work, or this is working, or switch this around. So that's hopefully something I can do in the future as well.
Yeah. That's definitely cool. Yeah, with a funny thing happened with Hotel Story is
Mhm.
it was split in two, and it never occurred to me that the kind of reveal of what the deal is that the witch is doing, that's kind of starting the whole story,
Mhm.
that was in part two. And so part one, you kind of needed it in part one because it wasn't originally really planned to be split necessarily, but we're like,
Right.
it'll split fine. But we're like, oh, so that was good to get the feedback of like, oh yeah, we went a whole book 125 pages and didn't even explain what it's about. Like, we need to solve this. So we did make a slight adjustment to like make sure that is addressed in part one.
That's awesome.
And that'd be funny, like, and it wouldn't even be the end of the world if you like released it the other way, but
Right.
then it's just more intrigue that doesn't quite pay off in part one yet.
Right.
It would still be like, people might still be like, oh, I really want to know, so I want to read part two. But it's like, yeah, you should give them like some good morsels if
Right.
it's a big,
Just enough.
part one. Yeah, that balance alone is like kind of fun to try and mess with when
It
you're
really is. Yeah, because it's like
crunching.
it's like a puzzle piece, man. That's one of the things I really enjoy about writing is it's such a different brain muscle that you use when you're writing, and I love the puzzle piece aspect of trying to make it all work out and where the reveal is and all that stuff. It's just it's I enjoy writing as much as I do drawing, which is cool when you're writing and drawing your own book, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. What is your writing process in general and specifically for this as well?
So the story itself, I've had in one form or another for since I was like 12 years old. But it really reached what it's at or where it's at right now. Its final um, uh, uh, form, so to speak, probably in the last like 5 years. Just really just every night, man, staying up, just tossing in bed, just thinking about all the pieces and the parts and where I wanted to go, and then finally just writing down, the whole map of the whole series, and then just writing at night, yeah, talking to myself like a crazy person, working out dialogue, acting it out, so to speak, to see if it flows very well. So it's a little bit of a psycho method, but yeah, just whenever I could find time at night, and now especially with the kid, it's all going to be nighttime, until we get a bigger place with a room that I can, just sort of lock myself away from. I love her; she's a
Yeah.
great kid. You know what I mean? But you know how it is. It's you need that focus, especially when writing, more so than even drawing.
Until she's old enough that you can conscript her into your
Exactly.
company.
Seriously, 100%. We're trying. She's got her letters and everything down now. She's actually spelling fairly well for a 3-year-old, so I think she's not far off, man.
Yeah.
Get that
Cool.
sweatshop going.
Yeah. Are you an alum from the Kubert School? Is that something I heard through the grapevine too?
Yeah, I actually am not an alum. I went 1 year, so I guess that wouldn't be an alumni. I went the first year. That's where I met. I was actually roommates with Pat. We were roommates at the school. I went for 1 year, and then I never went back. It was just a little too expensive for me at that point in time.
Yeah.
But it was a cool school. I mean, I wish I would have gone the other 2 years to actually have some instruction from Qbert and a lot of the other guys that were there. And the second year is when they start teaching you all the computer stuff, which I'm pretty illiterate at. It's one of my lady colors. I actually colored the second issue, but I did that with her holding my hand. I'd never used Photoshop before, so she was walking me along. But luckily, she's back on issue 3, and issue 3 on, she'll be coloring everything. But yeah, I went to the Kubert school. It was cool for what it was, but I only went for 1 year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But that's kind of interesting too. Yeah. Because there is a lot of people that have that connection. There's a few kind of in the indie scene now. And it sounds kind of cool. I was a little curious about it. But kind of did a similar path. I went to like art school for 1 year and dropped out because it was too expensive.
Yeah, it is, dude. And it's one of those things too where you're like, especially at the time that I went, and I'm sure you as well, is that you could, and I'm nothing against the instructors, but it was cheaper for me to go to Barnes and Noble or Books A Million and buy books and just really just try to teach myself. And I think that's the route that I took, was just really putting my nose to the grindstone at certain points in time. Because there was times where I stopped for years. I wouldn't draw for like 5 years, 10 years, maybe. And then I finally got back into it and just really full steam ahead, was like just trying to make it my craft. And some of these pages are older. My newer stuff is tighter, mostly because of a glasses issue. But yeah, it was pretty much just, I was just cheaper to buy books at Books A Million than it was to actually go to a school and pay for art classes.
Yeah. Yeah. And these days it's like YouTube. YouTube
Dude,
alone
it's
is like,
amazing.
and it's kind of like almost better. Nothing against Kubert School, but it's
No,
really hard
yeah,
to compete with when on YouTube you can like search Jim Lee teaching you some stuff and like
100%. And YouTube for, I mean, I fixed my AC that would have cost me like $200 for $15 with YouTube. So YouTube is pretty badass, man. It's not just for drawing or anything else. It's like everything from home repair to cooking to drawing. So it's almost like the new age collegiate way to go for things.
yeah. Yeah. Do you have a YouTube channel or anything like that?
I do. It's sort of dead. I am looking to make some videos though. Probably using the lady's iPad. Finally, I have a really shit piece of shit phone rather. So yeah, I'm probably going to make some videos and maybe do some streams pretty soon coming up. But it's just so new to me. I'm more of a meet in person type of guy. So this is all still fairly new to me. But it looks like it's the way to go. That you're in the comfort of your own home, and so the next thing would be to start putting some videos out on my YouTube channel as well.
Yeah, you never know. I feel like that's like the way, but it's hard. And then if you look at who truly has success with it, it's like they kind of made that decision and they really did like Yellow Flash or whatever.
Mhm.
Like he really did do like 1 or 2 videos a day for like 2 years or something, and he still does every day.
Right.
And then also even what you have to talk about is kind of like algorithm chasing, and that's part of like that can be fun from a certain perspective if you're plugged into that, or
Right.
it can be like hell if you like, because like my kind of thing is like I want to talk about what I feel like talking about, which turns out is not what the algorithm will reward.
I think I'd be in the same boat you are, man, where it's like I have enough that I'm really focused on, that I don't know if I can actually afford that brain power to put to another. And there's people that can. I'm just, I'm not that guy. So I think I'd probably go your route where I just want to talk and shoot the shit with a couple of people and just have a little bit of fun.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just having
it's that.
one semi-active so that it's there for in case people come across it, or you can post stuff. And I think shorts are like supposedly is a little bit more of a chance where like you could kind of strike gold or whatever. Like you could do a little something and it actually does go viral or whatever. But yeah, who's this guy? This guy looks awesome.
He is part of a group of the Homeland Terror Task Force, but that right there is Bo Cobb. He's one of the main guys of this new division that's been granted power in the states. Essentially, hired PMCs to run counterterrorism covert operations in the U.S., which is a case of contention in the story where you have private military working for the government and working within our borders, on who they deem terrorists.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like he might be a bad guy in the context of the story, maybe, or he
Yes,
looks like that kind of.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah, he looks cool though. He looks kind of like a GI Joe. Also, really good foreshortening illustration here.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah, that what's funny about like this? It's harder than people might like what realize or whatever. It's like just the decision of like, all right, how big is the front of the gun? Do I make it real big? Because you
Right.
could there's technically like no wrong answer, but you're trying to find it, and it's kind of matching with the perspective of the rest of the drawing or whatever.
Right.
You could do it where it's like almost the same size, it still looks pretty good, or you could do it real like whatever exaggerated.
In your face. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Real quick, Dale A does have a question. How many pages is Tome of Reckoning?
Issue 1 and 2 are both 36 pages of story, full story. So if you back issue 2, whether it be just the one physical copy of issue 2, you get the PDF for issue 1 as well. So you're getting 72 pages of story.
Cool. Yeah, I did see that too there, and it's like $7 or physical issue 1 and 2, $10 for both. Yeah, or that's physical. Whoa, these are good deals. PDF issue 1 and 2, $7. Physical 1 and 2. Physical 2 is 10. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah,
but it comes with the PDF too of 1 as well, because I'd want people to get caught up too. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, that's funny. The digital is there's some definitely getting some. It's like what is that, like 1/7 or whatever is like, or 1/8. Yeah, 1/8 digital. I'm always curious about those numbers because I haven't really been offering digital, but I'm thinking about doing it soon. And whenever I do, it's like pretty low. It's like definitely the indie market. People love their physical books.
Totally. I think the only reason I did was because shipping is so damn expensive overseas, that I was like, if you're really that interested, overseas, I'll give you a good deal on the PDF, just because, I think I'm charging $35 for shipping overseas. And this is the first campaign I'm actually doing it where I'm open to shipping overseas. But like a crazy person, at least this campaign, I don't know if I'm going to do it for the next one, offering a free drawing to anybody overseas that gets the book, because if you're paying $35 for shipping, I feel like an asshole. So I'm giving a free drawing to anybody that gets it overseas. So, and I've only had, I think, about 3 or 4 backers so far.
Yeah, that's I would like steal that. I love that idea. But then it's funny because well, this is the problem. I can just imagine people being like, well, I want a drawing too. Can I pay extra for it? But I don't want it to ship overseas. And
right.
Well,
the only reason I did, and I actually went sort of cheap on a drawing, but the drawings are, they're 6x10. They're not super huge. They're fairly detailed. I think I posted some, but they're $25 if you order it here. So I figure with $5 shipping that I have within the States, and then $25 for that, somebody else, and I actually did a poll too to see if they're getting charged $35. I was like, does anybody feel bad about that? And most people didn't. So I was like, let me roll with it. But we'll see if that happens for the third one, just because I still have to draw my book. So, having to draw too many drawings, you know how it is.
Yeah.
I'm wearing too many hats as it is. So it's like I don't know if I can actually afford that next time, time
Yeah.
wise.
I don't know if there's like a word for the type of sketch. Sometimes they'll do it at conventions where
Hmm.
it's almost like a scribble, but it looks kind of awesome. And it only takes you like maybe like less than a minute. I did that when I did illustrations for in all the hardcovers of Foreign Agent. And
Hmm.
I realized I think it was like 200 I had to do or something.
Oh wow.
And I was like, so I was like, okay, it's just gonna be like a stamp. It's gonna be like like the same drawing every time,
Hmm.
drawn over and over again. And it looked cool though, so I was surprised. I was like, oh, it's kind of like at first I was like, no, I should do an original drawing for everyone. I'm like, I can't do that. I'll go crazy. I'll die or
A
whatever.
hundred, 100%. I'm actually in the midst of that right now, and I think I only have like 10 left. So I totally get that. So that's why I'm a little bit worried with the next one. If people take me up on that more so than they are right now, I might be stuck drawing those things as opposed to actually drawing more of the fifth issue. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, cool. What's kind of your history with like the indie scene? Because like I feel like I started seeing you, but the other thing is there's pockets everywhere, and people be
Mhm.
around for like years before you kind of meet, which is also that's sort of a sign of vibrancy, and that used to be like definitely a thing, and now I'm not so sure. It's like a little bit less of that these days. But
Right.
like how long have you been kind of around on Twitter and stuff?
Twitter, I had a Twitter that was like 10 years old. I barely used it. And then it got deleted because I think I said the most innocuous thing, wasn't even anything. But on Twitter, I didn't really use it for artwork. But I've been, in the indie scene with my book, just even showing things off for probably like the last 6 years. But I was in that time, I was trying to find colorists, inkers. And then probably about 3 years ago, I finally just started inking my own shit. Which, it was a little bit weird at first, but I think I'm getting, somewhat used to it. Um, but I've been in and around, but nothing too crazy. You know what I mean? Not really hard into the scene. I was mostly doing this thing for myself, to be honest. Just coming home from work and any minute that I had, just really put my nose to the grindstone, just so I can get this story out because it's sort of like a psychosis at this point.
Yeah.
You know.
That's another thing that I actually like about like the indie scene these days is a lot of not a lot, but you get these books that are ideas that people have had their whole life kind
Mhm.
of, and that they have just been really wanting. And then there's that combined with you being like a lifelong artist and like developing these skills, and it is a fun like conglomeration of fate almost to get this book out there. So this is
Mhm.
one I'm glad that I backed for sure.
Thanks, man.
Um, yeah, no problem. So it's issue one, two, and then how many? Like three is next. How
Three
many
is
total?
next. I have a total would be like 15, I think, 15 issues. For the first arc. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm actually looking to switch over to digital pretty soon, which I think will speed up my process as well. Um, but for the first, like, it's a finished complete arc. So if you get everything from the first issue, I have 4 issues done. I'm working on issue 5 right now. But yeah, 15 issues for the first like story
Cool.
arc, but it
So
hasn't
you're
released.
almost a third done through. And that's a huge
Yeah,
project. That would be if you combine those. That's bigger than Watchmen or whatever. Like
yeah.
Watchmen was 12, I think. Yeah. So
Exactly, and it's one of those things. Like I said, I would love to draw this story, and I have other stories as well that I'd like to do. But this is the one that I just really have. Just it's been with me since I was a kid, and it's just fun for me to actually draw and write it.
yeah. That's cool. And was it you took some breaks, and when how was it when you made the decision to like jump in and really give it a go? You were kind of alluding to that. Was
Mhm.
that like 6 years ago, or was that
I was probably about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah, I really hardcore probably the last like 3 years. With writing and scripting and all that stuff, and having more time now to actually draw, which is the pages have been coming a lot easier. Within that time, I was doing little commissions here and there for people, but really hardcore for the past like five 5 years. But like I said, within that time, 5 or 6 years ago, I was still looking for an inker. I had a shit ton of pages. I didn't really find anybody that really fit, my style. So a buddy of mine was like, just go ahead and ink it yourself, which I don't know why I didn't. I'm glad I did. But yeah, I would say probably the last like 5 years, but more so the last 3 years, just been cranking on stuff.
nice? Yeah, and going digital, like even with like an iPad.
Mhm.
I actually don't do this, but I think about it. I was like, oh, that would be nice. Is like you could sit on the couch. I know. I think Donald DeLay might do this, but you could actually like be on the couch with your iPad, almost like reclined or like very comfortable, and then
Yeah.
you can work, and that can be like time, like I don't know, very like you can really get in the zone or whatever.
100%. Well, it's funny, when I draw traditionally, actually you can't see it's dark, but I sit on the couch. I just have a little board that I draw on that I've had for, decades now.
Cool.
And it's nice to sit on the couch. The girls can watch TV and I can just sit there and draw and do my thing.
See, that's kind of awesome. Yeah. I have I'm working on one project. I'm trying to mess with some traditional because I've been digital all these years.
Mhm.
And or way early I was doing a lot of traditional, but it was my first and only sort of mainstream gig. Was like I was at a convention and handing out my business cards, and a journalist took my business card, and I got an email from him 2 weeks later, and he's like, I'm working with a medic who just returned from Afghanistan on his second tour, and he kept a memoir, and we have a book deal to convert his memoir into a comic. But we had an artist, but they fell through. Can you draw 100 draw and color and letter 120 pages in a year? And I was like, yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I was like, guess I'm going digital.
Yeah.
And it was like a little bit of a, like, I don't know, like trial by fire type thing.
Right.
But by the end of that, then I sort of have the style that everyone knows me by, which is one thing is like it's all about Control Z, like it's all about the strokes, and there's no eraser. You're just undo the stroke, try it again until it looks good.
Right.
And that's like totally a digital thing. That's not a traditional thing at all. So I've been like, I should like it exercises almost a completely different part of your brain to go back to traditional. Suddenly you're like, oh, you're telling me I can't like flip the canvas whenever I want? Well, traditional, you can hold it up to the light and flip it over.
That's what I do, dude. That's so funny. I hold it up to, or sometimes I'll go into the mirror, into the bathroom to take a look, but it helps,
Yeah.
and it's funny because the first thing I've done digitally was the vampire chick that's in, it's a print that actually is unlocked. And dude, I had a blast. It was on the iPad. It was on my lady's iPad, and we're using Procreate, and it was fun, dude. It was nice to not have to open up the inks and all that other stuff. So yeah, digital I think might be I'm still gonna do. I think it's below, but I'm still gonna do traditional, here and there.
Oh yeah, nice. Yeah, so this is digital.
Yeah, that was digital. That's the only
Cool,
digital
yeah.
one on there. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, this looks great. And
Thanks,
yeah,
man.
it is like two different things, and they're fun. They sort of can help each other, even though they're different. It's just like, yeah, like it's like staying fit or whatever. But
Yeah.
definitely the thing that digital can do is like, yeah, the flipping, the free transforming. It's a lot of it's like the layout stuff. It's really useful.
Right.
But I guess I'm like, how did they do it before in traditional? It's like they use like tracing paper and stuff like that. So I bought some tracing paper, and I'm like, if I have to, I can mess the layouts of digital on
Right.
my computer and run over. But it's been kind of fun dabbling and messing with some of that.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually draw on printer paper, just because during COVID or whatnot, Bristol was so damn expensive. I was like, well, screw this. And it's funny, like that page right there, the werewolf one you're looking at, there's a shit ton of ink on it, and it eats it up. Like it doesn't mess up the paper at all. I mean, it shouldn't because it's printer paper. But yeah, printer paper. Speaking of like tracing paper, it's essentially the same thing, and it's just cheaper and it works just as good as Bristol did. So
Cool. Yeah, that's good. Some of this I'm taking note because I haven't even fully jumped in. I've been drawing a lot in notebooks, doing some character design stuff, getting some stuff ready. But I'm like, as soon as I jump into the first page, I'm like, it's going to be like, I even got like an X-Acto knife if I want to like take one drawing that I like, try and put it
that's
on
awesome.
the page or
That's
whatever.
awesome.
So
Well, it's funny you say that. Like sometimes, like I don't know how you work traditionally, but for me, sometimes I'll either just do a whole page normally, or I'll just have since the paper's so cheap, printer paper, I'll do a bunch of shit ton of sketches. And next thing you know, I'm just lightboxing it all onto all my sketches. I'm lightboxing my drawings onto a big piece of paper and doing the layout like that. You know what I mean? Where I'm moving, this panel over here. So it's sort of nice because you're having like a free form, fun for all on paper and not worrying about what the hell you're doing. But then later on, you're like, okay, I'll take this page over here, put it on here, lightbox this, lightbox that. And it's sort of nice. And the printer paper, like I said, you should give it a shot, dude. It's so damn cheap. And you could just lay massive amounts of ink on it. And there's no issue at all.
yeah, that's good. I will dabble with that. And that is like some of the benefits of like digital layout. That's kind of the traditional version of that, which is fun. And it would like the ways that it's like a little bit harder or whatever. You know, there's a kind of a funny anecdote. This is sort of related, but it's animation and it's regarding Mike Judge who did
Mhm.
Beavis and Butthead. You
Totally.
know, and it was like in the late 80s or whatever, and he was his whole thing, I think he was like a math guy or something at an office with the cubicle kind of thing, and he
Mhm.
really didn't like it, so his kind of escape plan is like, I'm going to try and mess with some animation, which for him that meant like getting like the whole setup, because it's not like it is today, so he had the setup in his garage, and you have to like control the lighting, control the camera, and have it be able to be a film camera that can take stop motion,
Right.
and it's and a rig to hold it like straight down so it doesn't jostle in between frames. And then the main thing is he wanted to get a guy talking. So, and he wanted his voice to match with what the guy was saying.
Mhm.
So he's like, how do you even do that? So he had the one line he had written, and he recorded himself with a stopwatch like 100 times, just trying to think of it and break it down. It's just like kind of thinking about it, and then kind of marking it on what it might be on a paper. Then
That's
he
awesome.
draws, yeah. So then he draws it, and then you got to send it to go get developed. And you got to put it through like a 16 millimeter developer. And this is over like 6 months or whatever. He's just doing it on his spare time in his garage,
It's
and
crazy.
then he gets to put the audio next to it and see if it matches, and
Right.
it did match, and he was just like, heck yeah, he was like so
That's
excited.
awesome, dude. I love
Yeah,
Judge, man. He's I mean from his animation stuff to the live action stuff, dude. His story, and he seems like such a cool dude. That's awesome, man.
yeah, but it's kind of fun that just the method of how what you have to go through that limited his creative aspect. That he's like, I just want a guy saying something, and it turned
Mhm.
out what the one guy was saying, that was his first short that he sent to MTV, and it did get picked up. So
Oh
like
wow.
it was almost like the limitations helped him invent his style, kind of,
Right. Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly. Oh, that's
yeah, and
awesome, man.
yeah, and that's so like just even like being in touch with that a little bit with traditional, which you know all that because you're talking about that stuff. I think going from traditional to digital, it can only be good, but it's like you can get spoiled by digital eventually. So
Right.
it's just as long as you're dabbling in both or whatever, I
Yeah,
guess.
and I think just I'll dabble in both just because she'll probably be on the iPad sometimes, so I'll always have to do the traditional stuff as well. And now that I'm back into the thick of it, and I finally have glasses. Like part of the reason I stopped drawing was I didn't have glasses. I just thought I wasn't into it anymore, but I just couldn't see shit. So when I finally got glasses, it was awesome, dude. And I actually have a new prescription coming in soon too. It's funny because part of my limitation right now is I don't like spending money on myself. So I couldn't see shit again with this pair, so I would actually be doubling up, dude. It's the dumbest thing in the world. But my girl and my kid laughs at me, but it's been helping. So yeah, that's my limitation. But I have a new prescription coming in finally after like 6 years, that I can actually start drawing again. Because some of it, it's when I don't know how good your prescription is, but some of my stuff was really etchy, and it's only because I could barely see. If people knew how bad my vision was making the first book without glasses, second issue without glasses. Third issue I had glasses, and the fourth issue I'm doubling up. So, but yeah, it's speaking of limitations, man. I'm trying to make do.
That's the meta narrative that we're gonna find. We're gonna
Yeah, it's awesome,
find if the fine print or whatever. All of a
right?
sudden, we can zoom in
Uh,
on with a magnifying glass or something.
yeah, it's crazy.
By the way, we got 10 people watching. Thanks everyone for being
Awesome.
here.
Hey
The
guys.
Tome of Reckoning by Dio is the artist and the writer, inker. His wife is the colorist. It's a
Mhm.
good team. We were talking about that behind the scenes. That's the Frank Miller, Lynn Varley combo.
Yeah.
Classic combination. Yeah, and then so there's a couple things I want to do before we get out of here. One
Sure.
is let's talk like because we actually haven't done this yet. Let's actually talk about the story and
Okay.
Tome of Reckoning, kind of pitch it and stuff. And
Sure.
then we're gonna take a little look at Dead Stop too, everyone. So stick around because it looks great. This launches
It
today
does.
too. We're both curious about this. So yeah, Tome of Reckoning. Why don't you like give me like the little pitch kind of?
Sure. It's about a group of misfits that are thrown together during an impending apocalypse, who are fighting a two-front war against shadowy government forces and an ancient evil from beyond. It's a story that deals a lot with familial themes, and religion, ancient history, forgotten history, and essentially it's just a story about a family that's sort of thrown together during this time, and they're on a road trip in order to make it to the end and hopefully see what the world has to offer when the dust settles.
Cool. Is the tome, is that like a device or item in the story?
It's essentially it's not even a MacGuffin. It's just it's an ethereal book that is written in that somebody has seen before in the story, and it's essentially we're going through, and not only us, every dimension that is out there is going through this cyclical rebirth every like 12 15,000 years. And it's essentially who makes it out at the end. Like, what does the world look like when whoever is the victor decides what, what the world is shaped like. So it's essentially this book that just records every time that the reckonings happen throughout multiverses.
Cool, cool. I like that a lot. And
Thanks.
it looks like this guy's like Wolfman kind of, right?
He is, yeah. He's that's one of his forms. I love werewolves. I love horror movies. I loved all that stuff, but I didn't want to just settle on one design. So essentially, this guy can shape shift from from human to the two-legged bipedal wolf-like guy. I love the Wolfman look. I love the thing in between. So he has all of those shapes available to him. So if you like any type of werewolf, I pretty much got it in there for you.
Cool, cool, cool. What about this art was something that kind of convinced me to back it almost
Oh,
because
awesome.
it is a great drawing and one thing it has a real 3D feel to it that I love. Like like this eye is blocked by his nose.
Thank you.
Is that like something that you're just practiced over the years and gotten good at, or?
I think so. I mean, yeah, and I'm pretty hard on myself, so even talking about myself in a good light, I feel a little weird about. But yeah, it's something I've practiced and really just tried to focus on when putting my pencil to the paper. So I want to make it look as good as I possibly can. And my newer stuff even looks better. So I can't wait till people can see that stuff. But yeah, it's something that I really tried to focus on to give it to some three dimensionality. And even the coloring, I colored this picture. I tried to I didn't use a lot of blacks for the shadows, so I tried to at least compensate by doing some shadow work with Photoshop, and I'm pretty stoked about how it came out, man.
Oh yeah, yeah, the Photoshop. That's like a whole other thing. Speaking of whatever, that's like I'm still trying to figure out is like when I remember this was a question I asked an artist. I forget who, but it was like a pro at
Uh
a
huh.
convention. I was like 20 or something. And so I go and I asked him and I was like, so how do you know what to put black and what not to put black? Because like
Right.
I always feel like I put too much stuff black and ruin it at some point. I'm like, ah. And so for a while I'm like, all right, no black. I'm not even gonna use black at all or whatever, because
it's
I just ruin it.
Well, it's funny because I see a lot of your stuff. You don't use black, right? A lot of your stuff is,
Yeah, digitally,
but
yeah.
but dude, and I'm not really I'm not blowing smoke up your ass. I love the way your stuff looks. You do it all with Photoshop or whatnot with colors like that, but it has a great look to it. Not everything, and that goes to speak that not everything needs all the blacks there. Because I've told people, I've had people tell me, put more blacks, black spotting and this and that. But not everything needs it, man. I'm doing more so on some of my pages now, but your stuff looks, dude. It's really, it looks like I'm trying to butter you up, dude. But I really enjoy your stuff, dude. It's awesome.
Thanks. Hey, guess who we got here? We got the Quaff. The
Nice.
Quaff, it was announced that he's working with Yellow Flash. Congrats,
Oh,
Quaff.
that's
That's
awesome.
sweet. Yeah. I'm looking forward to Quaff's next book too. The Quaff also has the best example of a good kayfabe / maybe it's not kayfabe fight with Road Warrior Drake Alizmat. They got some hilarious bickerings.
You never know
And
nowadays, right?
yeah, but that one like definitely makes me laugh. And Alizmat too. I backed his book Road Warrior Drake looks really fun and cool
Mhm.
too. And Shotgun Samurai from Quaff. So everyone
Yeah, I
keep your
remember
eye
that.
out. Yeah. So yeah, we're talking Tomb and the inking on the hair looks awesome though too. There's some good like pitch
Thanks, man.
blacks or whatever.
I used white ink to do the hair stuff, and it holds really well on the printer paper we were talking about. So it's real.
Quaff says it's real. Quaff has it's with Jabba the Hutt, I think. They have like the only 2-page comic ever made or something like that. Speaking of, so I don't know if it's the only, but that's another like
That's funny. Yeah, like the banana.
yeah, yeah, it's a achievement hunting or whatever.
That's awesome.
And I try to remember what it was because even that made me laugh, but it was like a nuclear explosion or something. So a 3-act story with one explosion is the end. I don't know.
That's funny.
Benjamin Soto, what's up, man? Dio's a great guy. Book
Hey
looks
Ben.
dope. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, dude. Thank you, Ben.
Yeah, and Jolly said refresh too. So let's do that and see if it goes up a little bit. Boom!
Oh,
It did go up.
awesome, dude. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So got at least one extra backer. Thanks everyone. Another
dude.
thing that happens, 12 people watching now. Thanks everyone for being here. We're going over Tome of Reckoning, but is people see it, they don't always back, but it's kind of there. You know, that's like a marketing thing. They say you got to like see something 5 times and then you pull the trigger or whatever. So
Right.
that's
Well,
like part of the goal. And you're gonna close in like a week too. So
I
like
am.
if possible, have like a nice, I don't know. I might be around if you got no one else, but we could stream a little bit. Or
That would
the
be awesome,
closing.
and I'd appreciate it, dude. Yeah, and anything, look, making 500 to me, I'm stoked about, dude. You know what I mean? Anybody that takes any interest. The first issue I had 12 backers, 13 backers, I think. Stoked. We closed at
Cool.
500. This right here is more than I would have expected. So anything that I get, dude, I'm not a fake humble guy. I really am, dude. Like I don't need much in life. So anything that I get, and having 49 people, 50 people now, dude, it's insane to me. I'm
Yeah.
so appreciative of this shit, dude. Big time, guys.
50's kind of a nice number. Like if you could picture, that's like a packed classroom where everyone raises their hand when you say, "Who wants my
Exactly.
book?"
Right,
Every
dude.
single one of them.
Yeah, and for me, it's always been the single guy, drawing it by myself, raising my hand. So having 50 people love my book, or at least get it and hopefully love it is it just makes my day, dude. I'm so stoked.
Yeah, and it is fun to be like a fan on this level where you can be one of those 50 and then you can be one of the guys letting people know about it and stuff
Right.
like so.
It's punk
And
rock.
this is yeah, totally. And this is the Indiegogo. There's a Kickstarter as well. So you're getting it even more from that. That one is not as high as this one, but to combine definitely is like they're doing pretty good. It is like do you have any like is Kickstarter like would you do that again and launch it, or is it kind of a waste of time, or what do you think?
Well,
I'm thinking about doing it.
Well, I would do it again, even if it's 500. It's still 500 that I didn't have before. But I will say it's really funny. So with Indiegogo, I tried to launch on here before, and they had a thing where it's just launched. You can click it and you can see everything that's just launched, right? Nowadays, it's not like that. They have a new algorithm. So if you don't have enough people clicking for your stuff, even if you click just launched, my book won't show up. So my book won't be searched. You have to search it directly. Whereas Kickstarter, you can find it just by looking at just launched stuff. So it just goes to speak for the community, I guess, who really appreciates Indiegogo more. That they're the only reason why my book was funded, because you couldn't find shit by looking for it. So I'll still do Kickstarter just for the fact that something might click. Like I have had people back it over there. But definitely Indiegogo has been the way to go, just because it just looks like more people are getting their eyes on it over here. Even though I think that's strictly from people like you who've been gracious enough to have me on their show, people like Jolly, people like Alakazam, people like everybody, Ben Soto, who put me out there. So I would do it again. Maybe you'll probably have better luck with it, I think. But yeah, I would do it again. But it's just really strange to see how one doesn't show your campaign and the other one that does is doing not as good. So, just try anything I can, I guess,
Yeah. I am curious about like if anyone. This is like another thing is like if anyone's ever, is it even like a market of the people who are like perusing the website, just looking for something to back, where they wake up in the morning, they're like, I feel like backing a comic. Like they haven't even heard about it on Twitter or YouTube.
Right.
And then they're browsing and then they see your cover. Although there is something to be said for a nice like thumbnail and a nice cover. Because like almost as like an experiment, I did do that a couple times. I just on FMC that's another one. Fund My Comic is another. I don't know if you've done that. That's a possibility too.
Actually, the next one I want to actually do all three. The next one, I'm going to try to pull the trigger and go on Fund My Comic as well, and see what happens. But thumbnails, man, I know what sells a lot, and it sells everywhere, not just Kickstarter. But TNA, man, is the way to go, for thumbnails and whatnot. It looks like. So maybe next time I'll put a vampire chick and see what happens. I don't know, but and no hate, no hate at all. That's cool. Whatever works.
Yeah, we're not above or below anything.
No, here. Not at all. Not at all.
I would do anything to get some extra eyes. Literally anything. No.
Yes.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, 13 people watching. Everyone, thanks for being here. Quaff said, "Who's the artist?" It is Dio is the artist. Quaff and the writer, much like Quaff is like that too. Wrote and drew Shotgun awesome. Sam. So let's look at Dead Stop real quick, and then we'll kind of get out of here. But this one launched today. I might have I don't know. I haven't reached out to Rich yet, but if he's around, I might have him on the channel. We'll promote it like formally, chit chatting. I didn't even. This one was funny because they announced it and launched it, and I didn't watch the video and I didn't read the thing. I just went straight to click to back it. And
That's
And so I
awesome.
didn't even know what it's about, but I heard it was, I'm like 100 pages, and it's rich. And then Oliver, I think, is coloring it. I think, which is that combination is a lot of fun too.
It's awesome. Yeah, it looks great, dude.
Mm.
And I've been seeing this for a while, so I guess it's this is the first time they've launched it, correct? It's not like a second chance or anything.
Yeah, I don't think it's a second chance. Yeah, and I haven't seen it. Whatever circles I was in, I missed it. But
Oh, it's
yeah,
funny.
look
Yeah,
at
I've been
that. That's
seeing.
cool.
It looks great, dude. That cover's badass.
Yeah, yeah, and there's Sully Cucaracha. Sully was like, or that book,
Hmm.
Roach Balls.
Hmm.
That was kind of the best book of the year that it came out. Like, or top five easily. But that was like one of the
Awesome.
standout books. And yeah, it looks awesome. It's a lot of cool.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
book looks great.
this style looks like Oliver's brother, maybe, because they do oh yeah, there's a couple different styles. They do the zine, or like, and I forget what that one's called, but I bought a bunch of those too, and that
That's
was really
awesome.
cool also. But it's the 656 people, right? Is like is that what their
Uh-huh.
company's called?
Yeah.
I need to get better at being their promo guy. But I'm just like, I just back it and read it. I don't know any of the but yeah, so anyone considering this, just letting everyone know it's out there. 100
Yeah.
page horror comic, and kind of that awesome style that they do. It's kind of undergroundy ish, It's kind of like style.
But still tight, like and just you know what I mean? Like it's its own
Yeah,
style, but it's all just really tight and well put together, well drafted.
yeah, and that's a whole group of guys, and like but they fan out to where it's not exactly even the group, but that network.
Hmm.
They have like the Cryptidnals is
Yeah.
like affiliated, and that's like going straight through Diamond, super pro mainstream book basically,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
and that looks awesome. So that's them, and they're doing this too, and I think it's I don't know if they're friends and they have some overlap, or if it's literally the same. It's one of those, but
Right.
um yeah. So so everyone keep an eye out. And yeah, with that we can kind of wrap up a little bit.
Awesome.
I'll go back. Tome of Reckoning, issue 2. And it's cool you're ahead too. So like you're working on issue 5, that you're almost
Hmm.
a third done then.
Yeah.
Issue 3 is gonna launch next. And
Yes.
yeah, the numbers keep going up, more and more readers. Yeah, and you can just fulfill and launch and keep it going,
I'm stoked.
and and until your child is old enough to enter the slave labor camp.
Oh, that's awesome. We're gonna make it happen fast, man. Get that iPad in their hands quickly. So it's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, cool. Chat, thanks for being here. Quaff, Jolly Green for the whole chat, posting links and stuff. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for the support with that. Benjamin Soto, man, thanks for joining us. And Caleb and Paulus, thanks guys. Was it one of you guys, and Dale A, was it one of you guys that backed it? Let me know in the next 10 seconds and I'll shout you out. But other than that, I'll probably end the stream. I got
Awesome.
creative block on Thursday on Reni's channel.
Nice.
And then I'm fulfilling pretty soon Hotel Story. Kind of within a week or so, those books will get here, and then I start fulfilling. And then after that, I launch Grand Prix Part 2, which I'm very excited about. I'm almost 100% done with that, so that'll be
Awesome.
ready. Yeah, it'll be nice to launch it and literally have it done. Sometimes I'll launch it where I'm like still lettering it or whatever, and
Right.
then you'll even have like, I don't know, with Nosferatu even. I almost went to print and I pulled it back at the last second and then redrew the girl on every panel that the girl was in, because that one was like a side project that had been drawn over the course of like 3 or 4 years, and I'd kind of gotten better. And it was like bugging me. I'm like, I could have a beautiful girl that looks the same in every panel, and she kind
Right.
of doesn't right now.
Oh
So, and
man.
it wasn't that much more work to do that. So like
Right.
it
That's
was.
actually one of the books I can't wait to get my hands on later on too, dude. Being a horror fan, I saw the artwork on that. I actually checked out your page where you're selling it, dude. I think it's an eBay page, and it's just I can't wait to get my hands on that shit, dude. So that's awesome. Super stoked.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, yeah. That's like Earthbound, Foreign Agent, and Nosferatu is like the Narwhal early trilogy, and they're all like kind of cool.
I can't wait.
But yeah, cool. All right, yeah. Thanks everyone for being here.
I guess.
People, whoever it was, they remain silent. They remain anonymous, which is just as well. But thank you to
Thank
anyone
you.
to to everyone just for being here. And yeah, help us
sure.
spread the word in the last week for this book. See if we can get it up. I'm sure the numbers will continue to grow, but it's fun sometimes the end, like even last days, it can have a nice boost. And you
Right.
might be, you know, even because you're like stoked at 50,
I
it'll
am,
be
dude.
higher than that. So
Oh
yeah,
man,
it's cool.
super stoked, dude. Thank you,
Yeah.
Marl, for having me on, dude. I really appreciate it, dude. Nice to formally meet you and talk to you, dude. So thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks, Dio. Hang out just 1 second and we'll
Yeah,
chat behind the scene for a
sure.
second too. But cool. All right.